I finally did it. After tons of research, I finally found the perfect audio interface for my home studio. And with as many great specs and features that this piece of hardware packs, I really do think that it's being overlooked by the audio community. Let me explain. So this is the Motu 828 audio interface. Now the 828 model has had a few different iterations of it over the years, but this is Motu's 5th and most updated version. And you can see from the front panel that this thing has been streamlined for fast and efficient workflow. There's a very clean 3.9-inch display that allows you to see and control everything that's going on within the interface. All of the knobs are extremely sturdy and have a very nice feel to them. Now, there's a lot going on inside the box that makes this piece of hardware one of the best values on the market in my humble opinion. And I do want to say that I purchased this audio interface with my own money, so this is not a sponsored video. Now, Motu uses the ESS Sabre 32 Ultra converters for this audio interface, which is a huge reason why I chose this for my studio. The interface's job is to convert audio back and forth between the analog to digital and digital to analog realm. So knowing that there's a very high quality conversion taking place that is right on par with some of the best audio interfaces in the world is a satisfying feeling for me. I can hear my audio in such a transparent way through my studio monitors, which is essential for me when I'm mixing. Now on the front panel, we have two mic and line inputs that are powered by Motu's latest preamp design. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the spec sheet, but I will say that these preamps sound very clean and transparent, which is something that I'm looking for with preamps that are built into the audio interface. Because, you know, if I want some color or some character from a preamp, there's other pieces of gear that I will go to for that type of sound. And the two preamps also have a lot of gain that can be controlled on the front panel by these two gain knobs right here. Each input also has the 48-volt power supply and a 20 dB pad. There's two independent headphone jacks here that both sound amazing. Next, we have an A/B switch here to quickly swap between two sets of studio monitors. You also have a mute button, a quick mono summing button for listening to your mix in mono, and then also a talkback button for communicating with someone recording in a separate room. So there's a lot of control here on the front panel. The menu knob allows you to adjust any parameter within the interface here on the front display. And you also have your main monitor level control knob here on the right side. Now, on the back of this unit is really where all of the meat and potatoes are with this piece of hardware. There's a total of 28 inputs and 32 outputs available, allowing you tons of flexibility to hook up all of your gear. There's 8 balanced TRS connections where I can hook up my external mic preamps. And this is one of the main reasons why I upgraded my audio interface. I wanted to have all of my microphones ready to go at all times. And I've also been really wanting to experiment with outboard gear as well, but my old interface just didn't have enough ins and outs for me to accomplish this. So this is a really big step up for me in terms of ins and outs. Now you also have send and returns here on the far right that are for the two inputs in the front. And what's really cool is that if you aren't using the inputs on the front, these returns operate as more inputs themselves and bypass the internal preamps for that channel, and they go directly to the converters like the rest of these inputs. Next, we have two balanced XLR outputs for our main set of studio monitors. And then there's 8 more balanced TRS outputs. There's 16 channels of optical in and outs. SPDIF and MIDI are options here as well. And of course, you have the USB 3 connection here to hook the interface up to your computer. And this is also backwards compatible with a USB 2 connection. This unit only has 2 milliseconds of latency at a 96 kilohertz sample rate, which is just as good as the most highly touted interfaces on the market. So now let's get to my honest opinion of this audio interface and why I chose it to be the centerpiece of my home studio. Number one is the price point. At the time of my purchase, this interface was only $995. And for all of the features of this thing, I really do believe that is a steal. There's so many other interfaces on the market that are way more expensive, but the specs on this audio interface are right in the same ballpark as those. Now, another reason that I decided to go with the Motu 828 is all of the ins and outs. With my old interface, I was just tired of not being able to have everything hooked up at once. I wanted to have all of my microphones set up at the same time, ready to go, instead of having to go and, plug and unplug everything. Now, I've also wanted to experiment with using outboard gear like I mentioned earlier in the video. So this interface has everything I could need for what I'm doing. Now, I've also recently purchased this studio desk right here that has tons of spots to rack your gear. So I was just looking to upgrade from a desktop interface to something that is rack mountable in order to have a cleaner workspace. And overall, just the look of this thing is very aesthetically pleasing and fits with the vibe of my home studio. Some interfaces that I was looking into purchasing just didn't look very sleek in my opinion. And I know that doesn't have an actual effect on the sound quality, but it did factor into my decision. Now, this interface also has loopback functionality, which is huge for me as a content creator and isn't even something that we've covered in this video. Loopback allows you to route any of your outputs back into the unit as inputs without having to use any cables. So everything is done internally. And so for me, I'm always making these video tutorials, and this allows me to capture my desktop audio and use it as an input in my screen capture software. So overall, I feel like this interface checked all of the boxes that I was looking for, and for me to only have to pay $1,000 for this high quality of a conversion is a no-brainer to me. And I was very surprised to not see a whole lot of content surrounding this audio interface since its release. But as I did my research, I began to realize that this interface was clearly being overlooked. And that might be because of the price range that this thing sits in. It's right above the price range of most desktop interfaces that many people use as an entryway into audio interfaces. And it's right below the price range of all of the highly regarded interfaces that most people are familiar with. So it's kind of in between the price points where most people are looking, but I honestly think that this interface is right there with the interfaces at the top as far as the actual conversion and the amount of inputs and outputs. Now, something else worth mentioning here at the end of the video is how flawless the drivers and the software are. Now, I'm working with Windows, so I can't speak for how it works on Mac, but everything runs so smooth. I haven't had any technical issues so far, and the software QMix that Motu uses is very straightforward. The routing and overall setup is very user-friendly, which is something I appreciate as someone who's just making music in their home studio. All right, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.